Hidan is an S-rank missing nin who defected from Yugakure and later joined the Akatsuki and a worshipper of Jashin. There, he was partnered with Kakuzu, despite the two's somewhat mutual dislike of each other. He was also the second newest member of Akatsuki at the time of Tobi's introduction. Kisame Hoshigaki laughingly referred to Hidan and Kakuzu as the zombie combo. During his childhood, after hearing rumors about the Valley of Hell, Hidan went and found it out of curiosity. There, he was disgusted by the smell of sulfur and discovered corpses all over the area. After returning and telling others of the corpses, they weren't surprised that the Chinook clan couldn't survive living in the valley, prompting Hidan to correct their assumptions and informing them that the bodies weren't skeletons but actual bodies, with their blood not dry. His story led to people suspecting Hidan of murdering them, as well as Yugakure ninja being dispatched to the area to investigate, during which they determined the slaughter to be a clan act. After Yugakure deteriorated from a shinobi village to a tourist site, Hidan became infuriated with how things were turning out. He believed that the shinobi that resided there were meant to kill, and thus slaughtered his neighbors before leaving Yugakure and joining the cult-like faith known as Jashin, a religion that worshipped a deity of the same name. The primary teaching of this faith appears to be outright slaughter, where anything less than utter destruction is considered a sin. Through experiments with Jashin's secret technique, Hidan was granted immortality. In the anime, Yugakure requested that Akatsuki eliminate Hidan for his homicidal acts, leading to Pain dispatching Itachi Uchiha, Konan, and Kakuzu to handle the matter. Upon Hidan encountering the organization, he attempted to kill Kakuzu and managed to destroy one of his hearts. The confrontation led to Konan offering Hidan the chance to join their organization, which he accepted, mainly because he took an interest in Kakuzu, since he was a pioneer in immortality as well. After joining, he was partnered with Kakuzu and tasked with capturing the two-tails Jinchuriki. Sometime later, Hidan and Kakuzu met with Sasori and Deidara to discuss their new missions assigned by Akatsuki. After Kakuzu said they had a choice between a money-making mission and a war mission, he chose the money mission after Sasori and Deidara showed no interest in it, much to Hidan's annoyance. Having been tasked with capturing the seven-tails Jinchuriki, Hidan accompanied Kakuzu with tracking his target down. Upon encountering FK, Hidan was baffled as she wanted to befriend Kakuzu, despite knowing the rogue shinobi's history. Hidan was a very foul-mouthed and disrespectful young man. He frequently used profanity and complained towards allies and opponents alike, despite being a highly religious person. He rarely used honorifics when speaking, and, even then, usually as a form of sarcasm, for example when he called Deidara Deidara-chan. He was the only member of Akatsuki who did not respect their leader, Pain, and openly declared his willingness to kill him around others. The only respect he ever seemed to give was to his god, and, even then, he was quite willing to use his name as an insult and found some of the rituals and practices of his religion to be annoyingly tedious. He openly held his partner, Kakuzu, in contempt for his habit of blasphemy, love of money, and Kakuzu's frequent ridicule of Hidan's religion and battle style. Despite this, whenever Hidan was in the mood to kill, the two worked together flawlessly in battle, and one can infer that he did care somewhat for his partner from his panicked reaction when he almost killed Kakuzu while being possessed by Shikamaru's technique. Hidan had absolutely no moral restraints regarding the people he killed. He considered slaughter a religious calling and often took considerable pleasure in making his opponents' deaths as painful as possible. He firmly believed that shinobi were meant to kill and revel in violence and found his village's deterioration into peace and disarmament to be infuriating, resulting in him slaughtering his neighbors before defecting. Hidan is sadistic and enjoys torturing his opponents. The amulet around his neck was a symbol of Jashin, and he used it to pray to his god before battling, requesting a good kill or, when he was not allowed to, for forgiveness. Given the requirements of his voodoo-like curse ritual, he was quite willing to inflict pain and injuries on himself and showing a masochist side as he openly relished the shared pain between him and the cursed victim. Despite this, he reacted normally, that is, he didn't enjoy the pain to being injured by someone else or when the opponent didn't share the pain. Hidan's behavior in the anime bordered on insanity. He was frequently heard shrieking loudly while attacking and laughed maniacally when he was about to kill Asuma Saratobi. Hidan also appeared to be quite spiteful towards his enemies and nearly everyone else, even commenting to Shikamaru Nara that "I've been waiting for this," referring to using his ceremony to kill Shikamaru. However, his immortality had made him arrogant, and he frequently engaged opponents with no regard for strategy, save to acquire some of their blood. Although ridiculed for his foolishness by Kakuzu and Shikamaru alike, being obviously inferior in tactical genius to either of them, and even admitting that he was not very intelligent himself, he was able to analyze the nature and limits of Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique and conducted battle accordingly, though he retained his arrogant attitude even under these circumstances. Interestingly, he seemed to panic when Shikamaru took control of his body, shouting at Kakuzu to do something in a rather frantic voice. He didn't particularly like it when Kakuzu assisted in his battles and only called for his help when he decided he needed it. Kakuzu tended to return the favor by coming in late and letting Hidan be wounded, though still alive, as punishment for underestimating his opponents. After his head was reattached, he showed a great hatred towards Asuma. In the anime, after being recreated, Hidan stated that being controlled by Kabuto Yakushi was the worst. Despite his disrespectful and unlikable mannerisms, Hidan showed genuine respect towards those who showed interest in Jashin, seen as when Hidan eagerly explained the benefits about the cult to Ameuki, and despite being adamant to kill him as another sacrifice, willingly delayed the killing after Ameuki's desire to make a sacrifice of his own, and upon witnessing Ameuki single-handedly destroy Shangri-La, Hidan openly exclaimed that he would celebrate Ameuki as a martyr. He also respected other forms of religion to a certain degree, as he disliked the idea of attacking the fire temple for the sake of money, condemning Kakuzu as blasphemous for doing so. Hidan is a very powerful shinobi whose skills lead to Yugakure choosing to not deal with the S-rank missing nin, as there wasn't a ninja in the village that could take him on. His skills were of a high enough standard to be recruited by Akatsuki, where alongside his partner Kakuzu, he defeated the two-tails Jinchuriki in her tailed beast mode, as well as Asuma, one of the Konohagakure's top nin. As a result of extensive experimenting with the Jashinist's various techniques, Hidan's main advantage is his inability to die from virtually all causes, with the exception of malnutrition. His immortality allows him to survive numerous fatal injuries and almost any form of dismemberment. He even retained his ability to speak after having his head cut off. However, his head still needed to be connected to his body in order to control it, requiring Kakuzu to reattach it and other body parts when needed. Even Shikamaru's attempt to blow Hidan into pieces using hundreds of explosive tags adhered to his entire body only succeeded in decapitating him and damaging his body after weakening the tendons that Kakuzu used to reattach his head. Even though he could survive most physical attacks, even ones that actually impaled him, he was still susceptible to pain, which he came to find pleasure in at the expense of his opponents. This inability to die was the primary reason for Hidan's partnership with Kakuzu. Since Kakuzu couldn't kill him, Kakuzu didn't need to find new partners after his fits of rage. Although the two disliked working together, this advantage made them the ideal team. His immortality was exploited by Kakuzu, whose destructive techniques could be utilized to their full extent without fear of harming Hidan, as demonstrated in their combo involving Hidan distracting an opponent with vicious attacks, while one of Kakuzu's hearts used wind release, pressure damage on both targets. Furthermore, Hidan also has impressive healing abilities, with the greatest example of this being how rapidly he healed from numerous physical injuries he underwent during his battle against Asuma and Shikamaru. Mere moments after that battle, he had been completely healed from all of his wounds and the damages he was subjected to, such as getting his ribcage crushed by two kunai blades, piercing his leg, getting his whole body perforated by Shikamaru's shadow, stabbing his chest with his retractable spear, having his scythe piercing his abdomen and go through his back, and getting his neck sliced then reattached. Even his burn scars inflicted by Asuma's fire release ash pile burning completely vanished a mere couple of days later. In battle, Hidan is shown to be very skilled in Bukijutsu. He wielded a triple-bladed scythe that he used as a short and long-range weapon. Despite its large and dangerous shape, Shikamaru speculated it was intended to draw blood instead of inflicting fatal damage. He controlled it with a long metal cable that was connected to a coil hidden under his robe. He is exceptionally skilled at wielding it, capable of deflecting a swarm of shuriken thrown at close range. He has also demonstrated tremendous aim and control of where and how it will strike, making it highly difficult for his opponents to predict the weapon's path. The unusual curvilinear trajectory that it took made it even more unpredictable, and Hidan was shown to be capable of causing the scythe to swerve perpendicularly and unexpectedly at a target, even though the scythe was quite far from him. However, during his final battle against Kakashi and Team Asuma, the cable was destroyed by an explosive tag attached to a kunai thrown by Shikamaru. Hidan stated that the large size inhibited his attack speed, claiming he was the slowest attacker in Akatsuki. Nevertheless, Hidan is extremely agile, having tremendous acrobatic prowess and dexterity in avoiding attacks, able to nimbly evade Shikamaru's shadow while skillfully manipulating his scythe in mid-air. Hidan's proficiency in evasion made it impossible for Asuma to land a single blow on him using Jujutsu without Hidan being immobilized by Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique. He could also evade a massive fireball fired at him at point-blank range, which reduced the building he was standing into rubble. He was also shown to be capable of dodging Shikamaru's chakra blade aimed at him in mid-air by thrusting his scythe into the trunk of a tree and using it as a stand, halting his fall and making the blade miss by a margin. Apart from his immortality, Hidan possessed a tremendous level of durability and stamina, enduring massive fatal injuries and battling for considerable periods of time with no signs of fatigue. Moreover, his immortal body's durability is so great that it could withstand virtually any form of damage and still function properly. Only dismemberment via cutting was seen to be able to incapacitate him. Hidan is also invulnerable to injuries that should normally maim him despite him being immortal, such as bone and muscle damages, as seen when he pierced his own femur during his fight against Asuma. The latter, to whom the same damages were also inflicted due to Hidan's curse, could hardly stand and was limping by sheer willpower. Another testament to his great durability similar to the latter is the fact that Asuma's fire release, ash pile burning, could maim his own arm but not Hidan's. Despite his arms being severely damaged by Shikamaru's shadow sewing technique, Hidan was still steadily dual-wielding his weapons. Even taking a direct hit from Kakuzu's wind release pressure damage, which hollowed out an entire area, did not leave any visible damage on Hidan's body. Using his weapon, Hidan makes every attempt to acquire an opponent's blood where, upon consuming it, he draws the Jashin symbol on the ground. This process somehow links his body with his opponent's. Once this link is established, Hidan takes on a Grim Reaper-like appearance, with black skin and white bone-like markings. In this state, he is essentially a living voodoo doll for his opponent. Any damage that is done to him is also inflicted on the opponent. Hidan referred to this as his curse, and he was fond of toying with his victims by inflicting non-fatal injuries with his retractable spears, while taking obvious pleasure in their shared pain. Once he was done playing with the opponent, or if he wanted to kill them quickly, he impaled himself through the heart, killing his opponent in the process, and then relishing it in intense satisfaction. Despite its effectiveness, the curse has many requirements and can be a slow technique to employ. The curse can be avoided if the opponent happens to know what to look out for and knows of Hidan's inability to die. The link between Hidan's curse and his opponent could be broken prematurely if Hidan was removed from the symbol. However, Hidan would remain in his transformed state, allowing the curse to be easily re-established by him simply entering the symbol's borders once more.